don't pick that life picked you. Welcome to Sit Down News, and before I begin, I'd like to mention our sponsor. Ratchet is a clothing company from the UK started by a young man with a vision, a dream, and determination. They have various prints and styles for men, women, and children. I'll include a link to their website down below in the description for this video. Constable Gus Farace was originally from Brooklyn and moved with his family to Staten Island at a young age. In October 1979, Farace and some friends were out in New York City's Greenwich Village. While in the village, they were approached by two other teens who propositioned them. They managed to take the teens to Wolf's Pond Park in Staten Island. In the park, they beat them, and one of the teens was able to get away, but the other one died from his injuries. Not long after, Gus Farace would plead guilty to a manslaughter charge, to which he received a 7 to 21 year sentence. While in prison, Farace would meet a lot of guys, such as Jerry Chili of the Bonanno family, Johnny Fatface Petrocelli, who later became a member of the Lucchese family, and Pete Bartolomeo. Everyone called Pete Petey Links, a name he earned by stealing a load of sausage links out of the prison mess hall. Pete was away with Gus Farace and would always speak highly of him. He told me Gus would give you the shirt off his back. Pete was also away with me in Fishkill, and in the street, I put him on record with me. Gus Farace was released in June of 1988, but once he got out, he began selling drugs to make some money. About a year later, Farace started dealing with a guy he was introduced to. The guy's real name was Everett Hatcher, and little did Farace know he was a DEA agent. On February 28, 1989, Everett Hatcher, working undercover, was meeting Farace. Somehow, his backup team lost him. About an hour later, they found Hatcher in his car. He had been shot 3 times and was dead. According to reports, Farace shot him from a van he'd been driving. Gus Farace was placed on the 10 most wanted list and became the focus of a nationwide manhunt. After learning he killed the DEA agent, Farace knew he needed help, so he turned to his friends in the mob. Law enforcement suspected this and began to harass wise guys throughout New York City. The manhunt for Farace became so intense that Hatcher's boss, Robert Stutman, rang John Gotti's bell, basically telling him to do the right thing. So at this point, Farace not only had every agency in law enforcement hunting for him, but the mob too. The first person to help hide Farace was Margaret Scarpa, who was called Babe, and she was the daughter of Jerry Chili. Law enforcement raided her house, but Farace was already gone, and she was placed under arrest for harboring a fugitive. After the arrest of his daughter, any compassion Chili had for Farace naturally no longer existed. Anthony Spiro, the acting Banana boss at the time, wanted Farace eliminated due to the pressure the family was receiving from law enforcement. And this wasn't the feeling of only the Bananos, but the other 4 families as well, which was not good news for Farace. Leaving Staten Island, Farace headed to Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. After staying there for a while, he met up with an old friend from prison, Johnny Fatface Petrocelli. And by this point, Petrocelli was a member of the Lucchese family. He moved Farace around between the Bronx, Yonkers, and Westchester. Law enforcement learned of Petrocelli helping Farace, and so did the Lucchese family. 2 members of the family went to see Petrocelli, asking that he give Farace up, but by then he had already moved him to Brewster, New York. Being true to the street and more importantly a true friend, Petrocelli refused to give Farace up. Petrocelli's refusal reached the ears of the Lucchese boss Vic Amuso, who sent Petrocelli a personal message: kill Farace or kill yourself. Ignoring Amuso's threat, Petrocelli would not turn on his friend. As a result, on September 13, 1989, Johnny Fatface Petrocelli was killed by 2 members of the Lucchese family. Ironically, both were childhood friends of his. Naturally, news of Petrocelli's death spooked Farace, who wanted to leave Brewster, so he contacted a woman friend who was a realtor. She helped him get an apartment on East 85th Street in Manhattan. Obviously, Farace's time in Manhattan was filled with intense stress. He went from an in-shape, clean-cut guy to putting on weight, growing a beard, and dyeing his hair. During this time, he was in touch with another friend from the street, Joe Boy Scofani. Joe Boy, who was a Gambino associate, told Farace about a Brooklyn guy, Louis Tuzio, who was willing to help him. What Joe Boy or Farace didn't know was the Bonanno family wanted to set Farace up, and Tuzio would be the one to do that. On November 17, 1989, Farace and Joe Boy headed to Brooklyn to meet Tuzio. When they arrived at the meeting spot, they parked the car and waited, and then a van pulled up. When Farace pulled his passenger window down, guys inside the van began firing. The shooters, Tuzio, James Gallo, and Mario Russo, not only shot Farace but hit Joe Boy as well. Joe Boy, who fired back, was able to survive his injuries. Farace, on the other hand, did not make it. When news of Joe Boy getting shot reached the Gambino family, they wanted justice because Joe Boy's father, Gus Boy, was a Gambino member. Receiving pressure from the Gambino family, the Bonannos decided to sacrifice Tuzio. On January 3, 1990, Tuzio was set up by his childhood friend, Bonanno member Daniel Mangelli. Tuzio was led to believe he was getting inducted into the family. Instead, he was found slumped over in a car and shot several times. A few years after the Farace murder, James Gallo became a member of the Lucchese family. In April of 1999, Joe Boy Sclafani became inducted into the Gambino family. Mario Russo has since been inducted into the Lucchese family as well. The events that unfolded were unfortunate, especially for Everett Hatcher. I do believe had Gus Farace known he was a DEA agent, things would have gone much different. The one lesson for anyone watching this should be how many times a guy's childhood friend set him up to be killed. Where is the loyalty and honor in that? Subscribe to the Sit Down News blog at sitdownnews.com, and I appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Thank you. Well, just another example in the mob you never knew about. Hope you enjoyed the story. If you would like to subscribe to this channel, you could do so down below. If you would like to subscribe to my other channel, Unlimited Substance Podcast, I'll add a link in the description for this video.